Hello, I'm Kimberlie. Welcome to the Native News Update. It's Thursday, November 3rd. Many of the stories you hear here can be found at IndianCountryNews.com. And here's the news for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. A 2-year-old Native American dies in foster care. Now tribal members are calling the lawmakers to deliver justice for Naomi Whitecrow. The Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes do not believe Whitecrow's foster mother, Amy Holder, is being held accountable. The tribes say the punishment recommended for Amy Holder does not fit the crime. A jury recommended Holder pay a $5,000 fine after they found Holder guilty of child abuse in the death of Whitecrow. The tribe says a rally at the Capitol on November 2nd is not their first attempt to get justice and certainly will not be their last. A crowd rallied for the 2-year-old who was also a member of the tribes. Tribal members wore buttons and held signs begging for justice for Naomi. The tribe says they will keep campaigning for a judge to send Holder to prison. Tribal members said they plan to attend Holder's formal sentencing. Holder's attorney says the judge made its decision and Holder will be ready to pay the fine at sentencing on November 7th. A federal judge says he wants a quick and inexpensive resolution to a lawsuit against the state of Oklahoma over tribal water rights. U.S. District Judge Lee West asked attorneys in the case to submit a list of people who might arbitrate the lawsuit by the Chickasaw and Choctaw nations. The tribes want the courts to prevent the Oklahoma Water Resources Board from selling and transporting water from historic tribal regions in southeastern Oklahoma. Attorneys for the state say they plan to ask for a stay while they try to settle the case in state court. Assistant Attorney General Patrick Wyrick said the state will file a lawsuit in state court by February 1st to determine what this tribe's rights are to the water in their region. The Anishinaabe Joint Commission calls on the government of the U.S. and Canada to do their jobs by investigating and enforcing public safety and clean water regulations in regard to the East End sewer treatment plant in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. The East End sewer treatment plant experienced 20 bypass events this summer alone. These events caused raw sewage, partially treated sewage, as well as solid waste and trash to flow into the St. Mary's River, resulting in a rise in E. coli levels and beach closures along the river's beaches and waterfronts. The Anishinaabe Joint Commission is a North American entity formed by the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians, Bechuana First Nation, Bay Mills Indian Community, and Garden River First Nation, with the primary objective to restore and protect the St. Mary's River. The AJC met for the first time in over a year, and members were fueled with motivation to see movement of objectives outlined in the Commission's treaty. The AJC's objectives will be a test of strength and unity to protect the waters on both sides of the border, demanding proper authorities remedy this problem. AJC will also be monitoring the proposed shipment of nuclear waste across the Great Lakes. The Nisqually Tribe has closed its Coho Salmon fishery nearly a month early to protect a weak run of adult fish returning to the Nisqually River. It marks the second consecutive year the fishery has closed early, raising question about what's happening to the fish when they leave the river for salt water. The 50 or so tribal fishers landed about 3,200 coho, about 1,000 fewer than last year before the emergency closure on October 28th. Typically, the tribe would fish for coho until Thanksgiving. The preseason run size was predicted at 30,000, which would have been a record return, but it never materialized, suggesting something is happening to the fish in Puget Sound when they leave the river as young fish and return as adults. Only about 75 coho had returned to the tribe's Kalama Creek hatchery prior to the closure. The tribe needs about 800 adult spawners to produce enough fish for next year's season. Tribal officials are fearing that Nisqually River coho are starting to dwindle the way other South Sound coho stocks have in the past 20 years. And in other salmon news, the Klamath River in Northern California was once one of the largest spawning grounds for wild salmon. The Klamath snakes along the California-Oregon border, but near its headwaters there is a series of dams that prevent the fish from reaching their historic breeding grounds. Native Americans once fished salmon along the banks as far north as Oregon, but there is no salmon in the Klamath Basin today because 5 separate dams keep them from getting there. More than 10,000 salmon have returned this year to breed and die. The only reason they keep coming back is because of the hatchery at the foot of the dam, where the fish are bred and released. A federal environmental review found that removing the dams would boost endangered coho salmon populations by 81.4%. Pacific Corp owns the dams. Its federal license to operate them is up, meaning they must be upgraded to modern standards. Those renovations are expensive and would have to be paid by local utility rate payers. Instead, a coalition of tribes, conservationists, landowners, and local utility have come to an agreement that the dams should go. To move forward, the Interior Secretary must endorse the removal project by March, and Congress would need to approve the settlement agreement by the end of next year. If that happens, the removal of the dams could begin by 2020. Within 18 months, the Akwesasne Mohawk Casino is scheduled to grow in size by nearly 50%. St. Regis Mohawk tribal officials held a groundbreaking for an expansion on November 2nd. The $74 million project is expected to generate 350 construction jobs over the next 20 months, and a new 150-room on-site hotel will bring an additional 50 new jobs. In total, the casino will grow from 70,000 to 105,000 square feet. With unanimous and overwhelming support, Jefferson Keel, the Lieutenant Governor of the Chickasaw Nation, was re-elected to a second term as the President of the National Congress of American Indians. Keel's unopposed nomination and election came at the midpoint of the organization's 68th annual convention held in Portland, Oregon. The election signaled a unified commitment by Indian country to continue the momentum experienced under Keel's first two-year term. On November 1st, NCAI issued a statement of support for Senator Daniel Okaka's Save Native Women Act, and Keel restated his conviction to see the passage of this critical bill during the early part of his second two-year term. The 33rd Annual American Indian Science and Engineering Society National Conference will be held November 10th through the 12th, and this year's theme is Food for Thought. The event will take place at the Minneapolis Convention Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. From biodiversity and innovation to geopolitics and ethics, from tradition and sustainability to healthcare, food policy, and preservation of traditional foodways, the Food for Thought's theme opens the conference to a shared exploration of multiple viewpoints and interpretations. For more information, you can visit AISES.org. Everett Freeman, chairman of the Pesquenta Band of Nomlaki Indians in Northern California from 1994 until his death in 2010, has posthumously been selected to receive the prestigious 2011 Eagle Spirit Award from the American Indian Film Institute. Freeman is being honored for the contributions he made by leading the charge to obtain re-recognition by the federal government, restoring sovereign status to the tribe, and cultivating a forward-thinking economic infrastructure to support a bright future for the tribe. His son, Tribal Chairman Andrew Freeman, will accept the award on behalf of the tribe during a special ceremony on Saturday, November 12th at the American Indian Motion Pictures Awards Show in San Francisco, California. Freeman's role as a leader and visionary is chronicled in an award-winning documentary, Pesquenta Nomlaqua Boda, which has been selected as a feature film in the 36th Annual American Indian Film Institute Film Festival.
I believe that they knew very, very early on that there were people in their country and that it was a very dangerous situation.
The amount of people that died was extremely unnecessary, brutal, inhumane.
Land became very valuable. The collateral damage were the tribes.
And the government was seeking to terminate tribes, and they did a lot of this termination.
Those individuals would sign documents stating that they were no longer Indian.
I didn't want to be Indian. I wanted to be white.
Everybody admired Everett. It was always in my heart, I guess.
One day he came and he said, you know what? He goes, now that I'm retired, he said, I think I'm going to try and get the tribe back.
My older uncle asked me that if I would take care of this when he passed away, which I did.
The film, which was commissioned by the tribe and produced in collaboration with Dawson Media Group of Portland, Oregon, has been honored at festivals reaching from the Black Hills of South Dakota and Tulsa, Oklahoma to Winnipeg, Manitoba, and Switzerland. For more information, you can visit nomlakwaboda-thefilm.com. And that's another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me, and have a grand day.